Please welcome delivering his number 10 speech from Competent Communicator, Chris Houston.
Thank you, Rick. First, I want to say, Rochelle, the speech is 8 to 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Because I don't want you flashing that red card.
That's right. Thank you.
Rick, thanks for that introduction. You read that exactly the way I wrote it. When I was a freshman in college, my first year, I had to give a speech in a speech class, and it was about 3 minutes. And I was thinking to myself, man, what am I going to say for 3 minutes? After being a Toastmasters for about 1.5 years now, I get up to give a speech, and like today it's 10 minutes. And I say to myself, man, only 10 minutes? I don't know if I can squeeze everything in. Today we're going to talk about breaking the spirit of average. That's the subject of my speech. I read a book about 1.5 years ago by Joseph Washington, and he talked about breaking the spirit of average. He listed 7 things that you have to do or you should do to break the spirit of average. Because what we find in life is that people don't aim too high and miss. What happens is they aim too low and they hit. When you break the spirit of average, those 7 things, I'm going to touch on each one briefly today. The first thing you want to do is you want to adopt a positive attitude. Attitude is the key to almost everything. We try to control things in life that we can't. And instead of trying to control things we can, like our attitude, we try to control things like our employees. We try to control our bosses. When I was writing this speech, my wife came into the room. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing a speech." She says, "What's it about?" And I told her. And I said, "You know what, I'm having a problem. I need a couple more examples of things that you can control, or things that you try to control, but you can't." She says, "Oh, that's easy." I said, "Well, what?" She said, "Well, one thing you try to control and you can't is your spouse." I said, "Thanks for your input. I'll take it from here." When I'm at work, to prove this, when I'm at work and someone says, "Chris, how you doing?" I say, "I'm doing excellent, but I'm getting better." And I say that because I am, because I control how I feel. Lou Holtz, a great football coach, was quoted as saying, "Ability is what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do, but your attitude determines how well you do it." The next thing you want to think about is value your time. Doing something important well doesn't make it important. You also think about requiring a lot of time does not make a task important. So when you're valuing your time, or when I'm valuing my time, I think of 2 things. The first thing I think of is the Pareto principle. Excuse me. It's the 80-20 principle. And what it means is 80% of the results of anything comes from 20% of the work. To make it even plainer, find those few things that mean the most and concentrate on those things. Another thing that I use is Parkinson's law. And it states, a task will swell in perceived importance in relation to the time allotted for its completion. Let me break that down a little bit. That means that the closer you get to your deadline, the more you focus on that task. So if you take these 2 things and put them together, take the top 20% of the things that are important, give them a short timeline, you'll end up creating and getting all your tasks done. At work, a lot of time I tell people, poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And if you don't value your time, no one else will. You want to enlist the help of a mentor. And just like Rick said earlier, I needed help on my commencement speech. So I got a mentor, someone who's been speaking in the business for years. I won't say how many years, but for years. You know, I have a spiritual mentor. I have a financial mentor. Now, just because someone is your spiritual mentor, that does not mean they know about money. That does not mean that they can show you how to do your finances. You seek counsel rather than advice. When you seek counsel, you're seeking information from someone who knows. When you seek advice, you're just seeking someone's opinion. Benjamin Franklin was quoted as saying, "Tell me and I'll forget, teach me and I may remember, but involve me and I will learn." You want to read daily. That's the next thing you want to do. I've heard readers are leaders. And when you read, don't read to be smart, read to be real. Don't read to be big, read to be down to earth. Don't read to memorize, sometimes you read to realize. Don't read to learn all the time. Sometimes you have to read to unlearn things you've learned in the past. And don't read a lot. Just read enough to keep you hungry to continue reading. You want to anticipate opposition. It's not if something's going to happen to you in your life, it's when it's going to happen. You got to be prepared for it. Give you 3 quick quotes. Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. That's Albert Einstein. Brian Tracy was quoted as saying, the most valuable asset you can be, the most valuable asset can be your willingness to persist longer than anyone else, to keep going. And you don't overcome challenges by making them smaller, but by making yourself bigger. That's John Maxwell. So anticipate opposition. You want to guard your goals. A goal is a dream with a timeline. The tragedy in life is not that we don't hit our goals. The tragedy is we don't set goals. The first step, and the reason we don't set goals is because of that first step. Most people don't want to decide where they want to go. But once you do decide, you just go toward that goal. Don't worry about failure. Failure is not a person. Failure is just an event that happens. Something happens while you're going toward your goal, just say, okay, it's a roadblock, go around it, and keep going. The only way to fail is to not try when you're trying to achieve your goals. You want to empower your belief system. I think this is very important. As a man thinketh, so is he. Your philosophy on a lot of things is important. We learn a lot about philosophy sometimes from cliches. And let me give you an example. I'm going to correct a few cliches that you might have heard in the past. What you don't know won't hurt you. Wrong. What you don't know will hurt you. What you don't know will hurt you, will hurt your bank account, will hurt your family. You got to know. My dad would always say, you pay for what you don't know. The more you don't know, the more you pay. Ignorance is bliss. Wrong. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is tragedy. Ignorance is illness. Ignorance is poverty. Ignorance is not bliss. Here's another good one that I tell my daughter all the time. Sticks and stones may hurt your bones, but words will never hurt you. Wrong. Words mixed with measured emotion will hurt you. Lastly, this is one that I hear all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. No, it's not really true. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Who knows you as a person that's breaking the spirit of average? I went over 7 things real quickly. Adopting a positive attitude, valuing your time, enlisting the help of a mentor, reading daily, anticipating opposition, guarding your goals, and empowering your belief system. If you can do these 7 things on a consistent basis, you will break the spirit of average. When I was reading the book, Joseph Watson told a story, and he said there was a very average man who never laughed, he never played, he never sang, and he never prayed. He never risked, and he never tried. And when he passed away, his insurance was denied. They said since he never really lived, they were sure he never died. And I took that to heart because I go after my goals. And I want to make sure I break the spirit of average. Because if you want a thing like breaking the spirit of average, you got to go after it. And when you want a thing bad enough, you go out and fight for it. You work day and night for it. You give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. If all that you scheme and dream is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, lose all your terror of the opposition for it, then you simply just go after that thing with all of your capacity. Strength and sagacity, faith, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity. If neither cold, poverty, famine, nor gout, nor sickness, nor pain of body and brain will keep you away from that thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you will get it. Mr. Toastmaster.